Twisted Fate grabbed Make for some what I assume are comfort picks for these two players, for Revenant and Christic in particular, because you don't see a lot of Lee or TF nowadays. And it looks like we're live. Oh boy, that's good. Twisted Fate. That's good to see. That's heartening.
Who knew? We just had to turn it off and on again. What I missed while I was fixing our technical difficulties.
Lisa and Twisted Fate were picked up in answer to an Ivan and a Jin, and we are on to the final two hovers, which are resolved into picks very quickly for LFA. We're going to be going with Braum and Shen, filling out the beefy, tanky side of their composition with those last two picks. Shen is not exactly a Bloodbath and Beyond style of champion. He does like to pick very lane-dominant champions that are able to start snowballing out of the top lane, things like the Darius, which was banned against him. But we'll see how he works on a slightly more reserved play style. The Maokai hover makes a lot of sense. Oliver Phillips can play that into the Shen, and it's pretty much a deadlocked lane. There's not really an advantage one way or the other.
Yeah. It's going to be the standard, or at least what we're used to seeing up in top lane, where two big things hit each other very, very weakly with little soft slaps. And I do like the Braum pickup. We don't see a whole lot of melee supports anymore. It's usually the Zyras and the Misfortunes and the Karmas and Malzahar now, of course. So
yeah, Braum is one of the few melee supports that has managed to sort of eke his way into the meta because of his ability to nullify poke, at least to some degree, with his projectile shield. However, it is on such a long cooldown and has a relatively prohibitive mana cost, so it's really not going to stop Varus from landing piercing arrows consistently if Aventus is able to consistently land those. But what it will do is potentially stop a really key piercing arrow from landing, or a really key soul flare from landing. And that's where Braum shines, keeping a dangerously low ally alive.
Absolutely. And we are entering our 3-minute delay. And we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back shortly, so don't go anywhere, folks.
I feel paralyzed.
Sorry about that. We're back. Slight technical difficulties, but they should be mostly fixed at this point.
And what is a Reverie cast without a few technical hitches here or there? They've been minor tonight though, and hopefully they stay that way. My name is Octavian. I am joined by Effect here, and we're going to be getting into game one of our first quarterfinal of the night, as it's LFA versus DBD. Looking for Ire versus Doc's Big Dongs.
Well, it's the standard line of scrimmage. Nothing too
Love
unusual.
for Ire.
Life for Ire.
They've been here 3 weeks in a row. 3 weeks in a row. That's just how ingrained LF, meaning looking for, is in my mind because of all of my dirty MMO days. Oh, man. Well, it doesn't look like there's going to be all that much level 1 action unless Control wants to duke it out with Christic, but they're both going to take one glance at each other and walk the other way. Just a green ward over the wall from Control to spot out that, indeed, Oliver Phillips is going to be starting off at his red buff. Get down to the business of laning.
It's the first time I've seen that Corky skin.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing.
It's a pretty neat skin. I'll give it that. I don't think that's cinches him to victory quite yet. We're gonna have to wait and see exactly how well he can play it out. But he does have the skin advantage.
It's definitely true. Will take a little bit of poke there.
Yeah, and this is going to be the disadvantage of the bomb into a double harass range lane. It'll just be very difficult for Willow to apply the same sort of pressure that Wambulance will. But if he can find skirmishes, if they can find engages, then I think the Brahm's going to be at least equivalently valuable, if not slightly more so than the Karma in the 2v2.
Wambulance is showing no fear, going right up and getting as much poke as possible.
Yeah, does take some on the way out for his efforts, though. And Bloodbath looks for the taunt, but doesn't quite land it. Christic able to sidestep that one. And is going to happily farm it out under the turret. Top lane shouldn't be too terribly interesting, but I think we need to keep an eye up here, if only because Bloodbath is going to be playing in the lane. He does not really like to play quieter. Still got you there, Effect? Everything
Yes.
okay?
Sorry. A quick message on something, but I am all paying attention now. We're ready to go.
Alright. It looks like we're ready to go in the bottom lane, perhaps. Ambulance looks to get some damage down. Meanwhile, Christic picking a fight with Bloodbath as he's got his jungler coming up to help him out here a little bit. There's the Q landing. Oliver Phillips.
There it is.
Pretty quickly, a flash forward from Christic. The arcane smash does not do nearly enough, though. Trying to toss Bloodbath there against the wall a little bit, keep him within range for damage.
Two flashes for a flash is not a bad trade.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose not for Bloodbath, but I like the idea for Oliver and Christic to try and keep the pressure down on Bloodbath because he is something of a cornerstone of love for Ire's team. Good lord, I'm going to get their name correct at some point. Control, though, even through the cleanse, goes down in the mid lane for first blood. Christic now teleporting to the bottom lane. He's going to be immediately advancing in a twisted fashion onto Tranquil Flames, who has to flash away. He gets the benefit of the heal from Tranimal as well, just to keep him alive there. There's the deadly flares into Christic, but he's going to be able to walk right back out of that one all right. And actually nobody quite goes down, but some aggressive plays already from both sides. And
Absolutely.
first blood does go over to Doc's Big Dongs.
Yep, Vengeance taking that for himself. I'm guessing that Control, almost said Central, it's not Central anymore. Not quite expecting the damage, I guessing, because the third attack proc on his auto attacks did a really significant chunk to Control's health.
Stack deck, yeah.
That's it. That is it.
Yeah, stack deck is a often overlooked portion of Twisted's kit, and before level 6, Twisted Fate is actually a pretty solid duelist in lane. It's post level 6 where he starts to fall off a bit because his ultimate is purely map-wide utility and doesn't actually offer anything in a 1v1, unlike a lot of other mid laners. And yeah, I think that was exactly the right time for Avenges to try and take advantage of the lane. Just playing that Twisted Fate pretty damn well.
Absolutely. He is going to go for the Rod of Ages, which is going to give him some that survivability to survive any significant Corky burst. I really look forward to seeing what they do with level 6 with the Vengeance's Twisted Fate.
Oh, yeah. By that point, well, actually, no. Avengus has just about hit the level 6. I thought he had just hit 5 and was coming up on 6 in a little while, but actually just hit 6 right about now. If they waited out until Revenant has ulti as well, then they could very easily make some sort of aggressive play in the bottom lane. They'd have a really nice CC chain between Varus and TF. Alternatively, they could make another play towards top while Bloodbath's flash is still gone.
Yeah, if Oliver Phillips makes his way up there, they definitely could do something up there, because they almost killed Bloodbath in that first gank. So very close. Speaking of Bloodbath, he now has that Bammy Cinder.
Oh,
Tranquil.
Oliver Phillips invading in onto Tranquil. This is the weakness of Ivern. Jen going to be standing united with the Tree Man, pulling Bloodbath down to the fight. Ambulance and Revenant, though, chasing after Tranimal, are going to catch him. And Doc's Big Dongs are playing incredibly aggressive here. Ambulance going to be almost bursted down. Control is going to be bursted down, in fact, as Avengus chases him back into the jungle, and Oliver Phillips claims the kill. Bloodbath, though, is not wanting to give up that easily, but perhaps he has to.
Yeah, unfortunately, this early in the game, I don't think he could take Bloodbath and Oliver Phillips. He might be able to get close to killing Oliver, but he has opted to go ahead and back up and teleport back to top lane. The Cinder took that minion. That's pretty impressive, actually.
This is starting to look pretty good for Doc's Big Dogs, who are not really the favorite coming into this matchup. We've seen Life for Ire a good few times here at Reverie, and they've always performed rather well. Definitely always made it past quarters, so to see them here now struggling in a quarterfinal match, it bodes well for Doc, as this is some of the top competition that we offer here at Reverie, so they're able to cleanly deal with Life for Ire, then I think they've got a real fighting chance at making it to finals.
Absolutely. They definitely have Life for Ire on the back foot currently. Let's see what they can do to make a recovery, if they can make a recovery. Because if Vengeance has 7, Revenant has got to be close to 6 at this point. And Bloodbath is also very low on top side.
Yeah. And the advantage of having that Twisted Fate means that you can make those sort of global plays. Of course, that is theoretically matched by LFA in the form of the Shen. They've not exactly just rolled over and given up global pressure during the draft. They did draft the Shen into the TF. On top of that, of course, there are teleports to be reckoned with, but just Avengus is going to have that ulti available much earlier than Bloodbath will. However, Wilro going aggressive is going to be punished for that, not taking into account the potential Twisted Fate.
Oh.
And perhaps LFA did take this into account, but Avengus is still going to be bringing down Wilro. Trend will turn it back. One auto is all he needed to claim the kill onto the TF, but there's still a 3 versus 2 going on down here as Oliver Phillips joins into the fray. Tranimal nearly going down, but he's able to turn it back around. There's the curtain call, and this might be the final act for Doc DB as Tranquil Flames claims the kill, and Corky packaging in is going to find another. Christic teleports down into the fight, but I think it's way too little, way too late, and he may just give up his own life, having to flash backwards. Ceases the chase from Daisy at the very least. But that goes disastrously for Doc in the end as they take a 1-for-3 trade.
Life for Ire making a strong recovery with some very nicely played overall counter gank there.
Yeah, and you saw that swing back and forth so many times just over the course of 30 seconds, 40 seconds or less. And it's because both of these teams are playing a really tight macro game here, even really early on. Both junglers were aware that a fight would likely break out bottom lanes. They were both down there. Avengus, of course, had his ult. Speaking of Avengus, this is a really overzealous play, going that close to the Dragon Pit. Yeah. Having to flash backwards. That simply wasn't necessary. I'm not sure why he went that close to the Dragon Pit. But both teams are playing the macro game really cleanly this early on. Earlier, it was Doc that was definitely playing it better, but Life for Ire seemed to have some life left in him. Bloodbath does have his flash available again from the earlier gank, and it looks like he's not even going to need to burn it, or he's not going to chase any further.
He'll be safe for now. He is taking a bit more damage than he'd probably like from Christic, because it is magic damage, but he is going right into that Sunfire to give him that early wave clear. He does now have his ult as well, so he can counter out a possible Twisted Fate ultimate once it's back up, which will be up shortly.
We're just about making it out of there in time. On the back of his Santa Brahms sleigh, which is adorable. It's probably my favorite skin in the entire game, I'd have to say. I'm not even kidding. You laugh, but this is no joke.
It is a pretty good skin, I'll admit.
And yeah, this match is definitively evened up now. Ocean Drake even going over to LFA means that it's slightly in their favor. At this point, Deadly Flourish is going to catch onto Ambulance as he tries to turn the corner. There's a knockup from Daisy as well, and that is dead Karma. Boom. A lot of focus in the bottom lane.
Absolutely.
Both of these teams this game.
Does make sense to a certain degree.
Yeah, and it's enhanced as well largely by the global pressure that both teams are exerting between a Shen and a Twisted Fate. This is honestly giving me some callbacks to previous seasons. Back when the global meta was the big thing, and Twisted Fate was in almost every game.
Yeah, we actually haven't seen a Twisted Fate in some time. Like the last time we saw Twisted Fate, he got countered really hard, and it just did not work out. But I'm happy to see this one is not going so one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely reasons you don't see TF anymore. Mainly because of his weakened laning and the fact that there are so many picks that can do really, really well into him. Back when it was LeBlanc Syndra mid, then definitely wouldn't see TF in that sort of environment. And now he does all right, actually, into the Corki pick. Surprisingly all right. I thought Aventus would have a bit of a rougher time in that lane, but I suppose Corki does sort of come into his own post-6, and it's at that point that a TF stops caring as much about the lane because he doesn't inhabit it nearly as often.
That's true. Bloodbath is just taking so much damage here. He does not have any magic resistance, which is just... That Arcane Smash is shredding his health. He is going to be forced to back.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised at the... I'm not surprised at the Cinder early, but I'm surprised at the rush into the full completed Sunfire cape early. It just signals to me that Bloodbath wants some pushing power. He wants to be able to push back against Christic's continual shove, which has actually cost him quite a bit. The turret's nearly down. Ooh. But speaking of Christic, Tranquil Flame is going to be dashing towards him with Root Collar. Bloodbath and Beyond coming in off the
Christic does not have flash yet.
And no mana either. He's got nothing to turn back and fight this one, and Bloodbath is going to easily claim the kill. Oliver Phillips trying valiantly to keep his top laner alive, but it was a lost cause at that point.
It's a very nice play by Bloodbath and Tranquil Flames, using that Shen ultimate to very good use. They're not going to have it, obviously, to counter out a Twisted Fate ultimate, but there is still the teleport, which actually both top laners now have, of course.
First turret is still up for grabs, though, and both sides are remarkably close to getting it. It looks like Tranimal and Wilrow were the ones, which is unfortunate for Christic. He put in so much work getting that turret so very low, and that's one of the reasons why I think that gank timing from Tranquil and Bloodbath was really actually quite clever, because it pushed Christic back, it made sure that that turret didn't go down for first brick, and at the same time, they were shoving as hard as they could bottom lane to claim first brick themselves. So not only did it get the kill, it also got them that global gold advantage.
Absolutely. Bloodbath can use that Shadow Dash to get over the wall, avoiding any kind of ganks coming from Oliver Phillips. Oh, there's the Ghost.
Actually, yeah, Pop's Ghost. He's going to be landing the gold card onto Control. It's, I believe, the package enhanced Valkyrie there from Control to back away from that fight.
He's not interested in anything that Avengeance had to offer.
Yes, Bloodbath continues to play rather aggressively up into this lane. Christic can't quite force him back, but he's getting rather low. Yeah, he's going to have to base here. I think he forfeits the turret.
Absolutely.
He does have teleport. Maybe he could teleport back into the lane and try and defend it. Oh, he's called Tranquil Flames up. Okay. Yeah, they really don't want to give up any sort of global gold advantage. They don't have to.
Not at all. If Bloodbath gets Spectral, I think he can deal with the lane a lot easier. He might just have enough gold. I'm not going to check.
Yeah, and the Sunfire is doing a similar thing in the end that the Spectre's Cowl would have done. It's helping him hold off the lane. whether that be through the ability to fight Maokai, which the Spectre's Carol would have done, or through the ability to clean out the Minion Wave quicker, which the Sunfire is doing. One way or another, Shen is still holding that lane off a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe the Sunfire wasn't the right itemization. It works out in the end for Bloodbath, and he's going to start building, presumably into Magic Resist next, though he does have a longsword in his inventory, so maybe he's just going completely off the beaten track.
A longsword, so Jerome's fist item, I imagine.
Yeah, Titanic, probably, if he is going that direction. Which certainly isn't a bad item on Shen by any means, but it's also certainly the kind of itemization I wouldn't be surprised to see from this player.
That is true. We got to think about the player behind the character. And that certainly fits a little bit more. Well, shield not coming up quite fast enough.
Well, we're still potentially trying to be aggressive here, but he just can't match the range of the Karma Varus combo. That's going to become less and less important, though, as we move onwards.
Tranimal getting snared up a little bit. My Wambulance there.
And actually, Tranimal going to be hopping into the... Oh, it's landing on the Revenant. There's a flash.
Surprise Oliver Phillips out of nowhere.
Wide. That is a field goal for Wilro as he throws his kill shot between two members of the enemy team. The double kill over to Phillips.
Bloodbath Beyond finally getting the upper hand in one of those top lane fights.
Yeah. It's off the back of Christic interrupting his stand united, though. He wasn't able to rejoin his team down in the bottom lane. We'll see whether or not he can do anything with that, since he did get the health advantage, I suppose, in this trade. Might go for the dive, but that could be kind of dangerous. Destiny's going to be popped just to get Avengeous. Oh, behind Tranquil here. Okay.
Oh no, Tranquil.
That gold card, and this basically secures the dragon, yeah.
No, the exhaust on the control.
Stunned over on the other side of the wall, is not able to try and go for the steal, and Oliver even denies the potential kill onto the Karma. Christic will turn it back around here in the Bloodbath. Arcane Smash flying out not quite the right direction. And duel between the top laners continues and will likely continue. However, that is Dragon going over to Doc, as Vengeance has to burn both summoners there in the mid lane to avoid some aggressive play from Tranimal and Wilro. Blue card onto Wilro, though.
And the exhaust keeping Wilro alive, possibly. They would drop him very low, at least.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunate the color selection there in the card. The blue card coming through is the highest damage option for single target, actually. But still, gold card, I think, might have secured the kill there for Avengeous, one way or another. Bygones will be bygones. And Avengeous is still doing quite well for himself. He may be behind a little bit in CS, but he's making up for that with some kills and assists. Actually has about a 1k gold lead up over his opposite number. And on top of that, before 20 minutes, has an almost fully stacked Rod of Ages, which is a really big deal.
It's certainly going to make him a lot harder to kill. And we're seeing Bloodbath getting engaged on my Christic really hard there.
Yeah, meanwhile, Wambulance getting chased away. Wambulance always seems at the edge of death, and this time he topples over its precipice. That is Jin claiming the kill. Christic will continue the duel here with Bloodbath and actually end it very shortly. Very little magic resist still. Bloodbath just can't quite handle the 1v1 against Christic. Tranquil, though, might be able to clean up the mess. Now, there's the Root Collar. Daisy going to be summoned as well, but really Tranquil does very little damage here. Daisy's going to have to be the one doing most of the heavy lift. If just one knockup can land, but it falls short.
If the snare or the knockup had landed, I think we would have seen a dead tree. Oh my!
And, yeah, Oliver Phillips does not have the same problem that Tranquil does. He has plenty of damage. It's just a matter of finding a good place to use it.
Look at all the swords he has.
To take a moment, actually, to highlight that Oliver Phillips is doing really well this game. If that kill didn't highlight it for you, just look at his KDA, 5-1. This guy is a force on the league center. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that banned out against him through the rest of the bracket. This is a best of one, so it's not going to be banned out in this series. This is not even a series, per se. But if other teams are paying attention, Oliver Phillips may not be able to get that lease in later on, provided they move forward in the bracket.
Indeed, and we see Bloodbath and Beyond deciding that he's not going to complete that longsword or anything, and is picking up the Spectral Cowl.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good gold card onto Bloodbath.
Yeah, I mean, he's out of there. He's got actually quite a bit of movement speed for himself now. Aether Wisp plus boots level 2.
Working on that Lich Bane. Gonna give him a little bit of pushing power. That'll show those turrets. Where are we at? Christic versus Control now.
Yeah, there's a twisting advance in. Control actually... He cleansed that off. That was a lot of respect over to the Maokai there from Control.
Probably a little too quick to the trigger there, but we'll have to see.
Maybe not. That was a lot of damage that
That
Control
is true.
in that trade, and Oliver Phillips is up on the top. There's good vision for LFA up there. They may very well have known that Oliver Phillips was up there. I didn't see where he was at exactly the time of that fight.
Oh no, Tranimal.
Oliver Phillips. Tranimal tossed right back into 3 members of his own team. Oliver going to follow him. Maybe regret the decision. That's a shutdown for LFA. A good start to this fight. As Wilro tosses Karma up into the air, and Ambulance just gets the short end of the stick once again.
Well, LFA making a nice recovery once again, going 2 for 0. Though Tranquil Flames is very low.
Yeah, this is quite a game to start us off tonight here in the quarterfinals. These are some highly skilled teams duking it out as far as Reverie is concerned.
Oh, now Cryptic's in trouble.
Not quite landing the Deadly Flourish. I think they still might have the CC they need, though. Yeah, concussive blows is stacking up. It's just a matter of time. That 4th shot, not only a big crit, but also landing this stun. Shadow Dash onto Christic now, but he is not going down quickly nor easily, and he's actually going to be turning back around on a Tranimal, dodging out of the Deadly Flourish, nearly claiming the 80 carry's life, costing him his heal, in fact.
They're both bottom lane were forced to use a heal and an exhaust to keep the Maokai from killing him.
Like, that's quite a showing from Christic.
Absolutely.
Who's a real powerhouse at the moment with an aggressive Maokai start going with Iceborne Gauntlet. But we've got action in the mid lane. Won't last too long as Control overextending finds a face full of CC.
Chains of Corruption plus the gold card combined with the Destiny just easily secures that kill, and they're also going to take a mid lane turret for it.
And once again, the game swings back as Docks? Should I be pluralizing that? Anyway,
I'm going to say yes.
Managed to grab for themselves a bit more of a gold lead. I don't know if Phillips can win this fight. Yeah, Bloodbath would have come out on top in an extended engagement, but that's the nice thing about Lee Sin. He can just kind of choose to leave.
It's like, this isn't working, bye.
Yeah. It does mean that they're kind of leaving that turret a little open, and we'll see whether or not LFA... Though,
Christic going
not
in.
open for very long as Docker looking to fight back here. Christic, though, on the front lines, exactly where he belongs. We'll see how long he can belong there. Bloodbath nearly going down as Oliver Phillips follows through with his Sonic Wave into a Resonating Strike onto Wilro. Dash away. Tranimal, though, getting chunked. One more arrow is all Revenant needs, and he does find it, but it's a 1-for-1 trade so far as the Maokai goes down. Piercing arrow does not land! Nicely done by Wilro to block that out with his E. Tranquil Flames is going to go for a little bit of a drive by Daisy, and it's a 1-for-1 trade overall.
I have no idea who's winning. It's so close. It's a 1k goal
Currently,
difference.
DBD are the ones who are in the driver's seat. They're the ones who are making the plays. We saw them make a play there on the mid lane onto Control, and they claimed that kill. They were the ones who initiated that fight up top lane, and they claimed the kill off the top of it.
Oh.
Admittedly, it was a 1-for-1. Wambulance, again, though, getting caught out here, may go down. His Karma
There's
has
the exhaust,
been
but he's knocked
the
up again.
punching bag of Doc BD. Oh, man, there's the third root collar. Tranquil Flames has so little damage, but eventually he does claim the kill. There's the flash over the wall from him. However, Wilro is there for him. Stand United as well. They've got a lot of defensive measures in place with his Corky. Christic will very likely fall here, but... Oh, the piercing arrow! Revenant turns it back around. It's a 1-for-1.
Oh my, Revenant doing work.
Disaster.
It was a 2-for-1 there, but they also... No, sorry. Wambulance died in top lane. Still 1-for-1, but we see Doc's picking up the dragon as well, giving them an Earth Drake. Mountain Drake, I should say. Mountain Earth, so, same difference.
Again, the Dongers inch further ahead. Or, I guess, maintain their inch of advantage, because they really haven't grown their advantage at all. And that's slightly worrying for the team with the Lee Sin jungle. He does start to fall off as we move later into the game. Thank you, Directed Camera, for hovering on the champion as I talk about him. Oliver Phillips has had an absolutely great showing this game. But just the nature of the champion is that he starts to fall off, and his damage is nowhere near as useful once you get later on in the match. However, they do scale up rather nicely with the dual carry comp of Varus and TF. So maybe that's going to be enough. And we have seen Oliver get some good flanks down already, and that is one way that Lee Sin can still be quite useful in the endgame if he manages to find a good flank and a nice Dragon's Rage.
Absolutely. We've seen before that he can already do some pretty serious burst, and he's still building more lethality. Looking like... oh, I don't know... oh, hello, package.
Could be a catch onto Avengers, but they don't have the CC they need. And
Package
yeah,
is slightly short.
Yeah, I mean it's a cooldown trade of sorts. As actually Doc is going to take advantage of we're just sent to the bottom lane by LFA and go for a really cheeky Baron attempt. Pardon me, not Dragon, the bigger one, the purple one.
Here's Curtain
However,
Call.
it looks like LFA have a read on this. Yeah, Curtain Call coming down. Redemption's gonna be landing, and that's a big heal for Doc as they manage to potentially sneak away with this Baron. Yeah, flash over the wall. Gets the last man standing out of there. LFA slow to the punch on a Baron pit.
Very nice quick pickup by Docs to get a free Baron for essentially just TF's Ghost in Destiny.
Yeah, that was really decisive shot calling. The sort of thing that you don't often see from a team in the Amateur League, and I'm rather impressed actually with Doc's big dongers, which is not really a sentence that I thought I'd be saying tonight.
We get the best names here at Reverie.
This is a bit of a forced attempt to engage there. Doc's not quite able to land it. I like the idea, though. I like that they're trying to go for a fight while they've got this Baron buff.
Absolutely.
While they've got tools to work with.
Speaking of... yeah, here comes the minions. They're going to be able to probably get this turret.
Oh, yeah.
Christic is so durable as well. He's building more armor and health.
There's actually not a ton of great wave clear on the side of LFA. Jin is pretty good at wave clear with his traps and his dancing grenade, and Corgi's actually quite good. But I don't think it's going to match up against a Varus and a Twisted Fate like that. That is a wave-destroying combo right there.
Absolutely.
And
Piercing
they can
arrow
hit
and
that turret once or twice. And we've got the Lich Bane. They've got, of course, just Varus with all of his stacked AD. This could get nasty. And of course, Doc do have to find a good opening first, and it seems like they're stalling on that a bit.
Definitely kind of waffling a little bit. We see that Vengeance is off to the side, split pushing. Does not quite have Destiny up yet, but it is so close. It'll be up in just 2 seconds.
Yeah, once that cooldown is available, I think we'll see Doc try and force a fight, perhaps. He's, even if they don't, TF is just something of a potent split-pushing force in his own right. He does clean those waves out really fast, and he's got the Lich Bane to bring turrets down. So if they don't have a good answer to this, they might just lose turrets to the slow push of a Twisted Fate. So they have sent control up there to try and deal with it. I want to see Doc pick a fight here. I think they need to get Oliver Phillips into more of a flanking position, but they're pushed so far up the lane that they can't really accomplish that easily.
Absolutely. They do have a strong front line in the form of Christic, and they just need to avenge this.
TF can always just take turrets, I guess. Yeah, one shot lands. Avenge is going to be flashing forward. Control is down at the worst. That's a 1-for-1 now, as the mid laners duke it out in the top side. Bloodbath going to be shadow dashing back through Christic. A turret falls, and it's 2 turrets and a kill going over to Doc with nothing answered back yet. There's the kick onto Wilro. Havoc spread by Oliver Phillips in LFA's team, and they have to back away as a piercing arrow nearly brings down 3 of them. Avenge is going to be teleporting in for the red card, trying his best to spread the damage out. Christic tanking up that turret is going to get the benefit of so many shields, and just 1 gold card is all it takes. Braum goes down. Christic actually was the one to claim that kill. Avenge is chasing down as many more kills as he can possibly find. Blood, hungry Doc push into the base.
Life for Ire, unfortunately not able to do anything here, losing 3 members very quickly, and it looks like 2 inhibitors are going to also be going down.
That was just about the worst possible result. Not only do they fail to find the pick top lane onto Avenges, he even turns that back around and gets a kill. They also then subsequently lose the team fight in the mid lane, drop an inhibitor and drop an inhibitor turret. LFA just choked something fierce right there.
Absolutely. We kind of missed it, but Control actually cleansed early, so we had no recourse on a Vengeance.
Oh, that Christic is fine. He's tanky.
He's got the Sunfire, the Ninja Tabby, the Frozen Iceborne Gauntlet. I almost said Frozen Fist. It's close, but not quite. And now he's
That's what it
building.
used to be called, I believe.
I think if you type it in, it'll come up with that still.
Yeah. That was its original name on release, Frozen Fist, I believe, for like 1, maybe 2 patches. And then Iceborne Gauntlet was what it was changed to when they did the whole event with Ash and Sejuani and Lysandra and all that.
Ah, okay, that makes sense now. Yep, and of course, Cryptic is building more health and armor. And there's the second dragon for Life for Ire. Obviously, the fourth dragon of the game, but
Yeah. I mean, the small consolation prizes, they do have that inhibitor down. They've lost the Baron, and there's so many problems that they have to deal with now. I mean, Avengus is scaling out of control. TF actually is something of a massive late game carry. An interesting build path from Avengus. He's gone for the rapid fire cannon, presumably to extend his auto range. That's the most valuable thing I can think of out of that. I mean, the extra magic damage as well is gonna scale, I suppose. Tranimal looks for an engage, but the bullets landing in a Christic isn't really gonna do very much.
More stack deck procs, longer gold raid or gold card procs.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's probably just for the longer auto attack range. Partially maybe to land gold cards at a longer range, which has real good utility, I suppose. But partially also to siege down the turrets better, because he was in that split pushing role for his team, and he's in it again. He's harder to keep off a turret if he's got that longer range on like a single Lich Bane enhanced auto attack. Like that's going to chunk a turret.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And speaking of turrets, they are rotating to that bottom side to take out that last tier 2 turret.
I wouldn't suggest trying this TF build at home. Mainly one of the reasons I think it's working really well for Avengus is because he's so far ahead that he can afford to use not only that much gold, but also an item slot on pretty much pure utility. He's getting a little bit of magic damage from it, and he's getting, I suppose, move speed, which is rather nice. But on top of that, the utility of the extra range is the main big thing from that item choice. And the only reason that he's able to do that is because he is so far ahead. He can sort of throw away the stats of the item to gain the utility.
That certainly does make sense. And now he's working on his last item. He needs a larger item. Presumably Death Cap, yes.
Though I suppose if he wanted to go for the like single big hit auto attack, still he could go for a what's the name of the one that I'm missing here? It'll come to me, I promise.
Oh.
It is the one that causes a burst of magic damage on hit.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name now.
Professional casters. Luden's Echo. There you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Luden's Echo.
Runic Echo, but that's the jungler version.
Yes, Runic Echoes would be the jungler one, which is what I wanted to say at first, and I was wrong, so I stopped myself. But yes, Luden's Echo could be a viable choice for him as well if he just wanted to go with that single long-range, high-damage auto attack. But you've got to keep in mind that one of the reasons why LFA are pushing hard for a fight here is they know that they're just slowly losing out their base to the Twisted Fate, but Oliver Phillips is going to go down, and it looks like LFA have started off pretty solid in this fight. Christic has to flash away, as Revenant is still tossing back piercing arrows as often as he can. There's the Destiny into the fight. Avengers is going to get exhausted off. Christic does manage to turn back around, and the jungler goes down. That's a double kill for Christic as he's looking to take some revenge for Oliver Phillips' death. And that was a really good start to a fight for LFA, but they overstayed their welcome.
Absolutely. We see Bloodbath and Beyond trying to do something here, but he's just getting CC'd down and picked away at.
And it's a teleport for Christic down to the Nexus turrets, which are under fire by Superman.
Tranimal is there.
He's actually going to be cutting off
my.
Tranimal. I mean, he's got no mana left. Enough for an Arcane Smash, it seems. Maybe he can take this fight. But he can't Twisting Advance forward. I think Tranimal's going to be able to walk away. Unless Avengers can get in there. There's that enhanced range work. It's a double kill for the TF.
And you can just see that Vengeance, even a single hit, is just doing so much damage to anyone who doesn't have magic resistance.
Yeah. It's a really cool TF build. I don't think that that's advisable if you're behind, but if you are as far ahead as Avengus is, it sort of increases your threat range. And if you've got enough power in the rest of your itemization so that just having more range means you kill people more often, that's pretty damn good.
Absolutely, definitely can't disagree with that. On that note, we are going to be moving on straight into our semifinal match of the evening, which is going to be Wang Chung tonight facing off against Doc's Big Dongers. And we'll be back shortly as soon as we're in Champions Select, so don't go anywhere, folks. And we're back to the next round of our little tournament we have going on. Semifinals. We have, let me double check the names. I just said them earlier, but I've already forgotten. Wang Chung tonight, facing off against Doc's Big Dongers.
Who we just saw put on a pretty dang solid performance last game. So we're going to see the true mettle of Wang Chung tonight, facing off against Doc's Big Dongers. They took down Life for Ire, who are a returning champion. I believe they've won one of our weekly tournaments. If not, they're a returning contender at the very least to get to these semifinals.
Absolutely.
And a Katarina ban right out the gate signals to me that there are some interesting things going on in this pick ban. I imagine Downy Puff probably is a Katarina player, if that's not all going to be on the ban list. Rengar, Kha'Zix in the meantime are pretty standard.
Look at all these assassin haters.
It's true. It's true. These are all champions that were reworked in the Assassin rework. Maybe we see Talon ban next.
There was Talon and I think there was also Fizz, yes, and then everything else was a very minor assassin reworks, nothing too major.
I mean, the way that you play Jace nowadays, and the way you build him, you can kind of call him an assassin because you just go Yumu's Edge of Night and burst people down. So maybe we're still banning assassins here. Jace would be a strange one to call an assassin, but just the way that you build him nowadays, he kind of is.
He's a long-range assassin with a giant cannon.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. Camille out of the picture as well. Pretty standard bans from Wang Chung tonight. Pretty, I'd imagine, targeted bans, actually, from DBD. And we're down to the last one. The team's deliberating pretty sufficiently on each of these.
Absolutely. Probably doing some last-minute research to figure out what they want to ban, and it is going to be a Maokai, which is going to deny that away from Christic, who had a very strong game on it.
Yeah, if they're confident enough to be banning out champions they've already performed well on, though, that just signals to me a bit of a deeper champion pool, which is a really good asset to have in pretty much any laner. Gangplank, I don't know if Gangplank makes the best first pick here. I don't think there's that much danger, unless there's something I don't know about these two teams. I don't think there's that much danger of DBD picking it away. And Gangplank is pretty easy to pick into in terms of lane. There's a lot of champions that can handle his lane. So picking it this early, putting this much emphasis on it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But maybe Wang Chung tonight knows something that I don't about this champion.
They found a secret AP build that insta-wins games. That's what it is.
Well, more that maybe Christic is a huge game. And
or
Wang Chung tonight, top laner is as well. But Poppy makes a good amount more sense. I also don't think Poppy's going to be a highly contested pick, but it is powerful, and it doesn't show your hand very much. You know, it's not easy to counter. It doesn't tell the enemy team very much about your composition. She's just kind of a laner. She doesn't really fit one composition more than any other. And it hides a lot of your draft, which isn't always what you want to do with the first pick, but is a certainly viable way to use it. Nautilus Varus going to be locked in for the response, and Hecarim Annie going to be grabbed almost immediately. Annie is an interesting one.
We haven't seen an Annie here in a very long time. I can't actually think of a single game. Well, at least the other games we've casted, obviously, where I've seen an Annie been picked up.
Yeah. She doesn't see a lot of pro play. She's a pretty simplistic champion in terms of kit, and that is both a boon and a hindrance for her. She's able to easily execute on her combo. She's pretty easy to pilot in terms of player skill. That doesn't mean that positioning isn't hugely important. It is, of course, always important, but she doesn't really have skill shots that you have to land for the most part. However, the downside of that is that she doesn't really have skill shots that she can use to outplay people for the most part. You know, pretty easy for both teams to tell when the Annie is in effective Annie range.
Pretty much.
She's not a very tricky champion for one side or the other.
Yeah, all the Annie skill comes down to, can you evaporate your opponent in one little rotation of skills?
Yeah, a bit less now because some more power has been pushed into Tibbers. So the first rotation of skills is still very important, but then also your minion management in the fight can matter as any. But Karma, Corki going to be locked in, and I think we're waiting on their mid lane pick, I'd imagine, from the side of Doc, unless they want to flex that Karma up to mid, is they're going to be holding that for their potential counter pick here.
They do have the Corki, so I imagine the Corki is going to be going mid lane, and the Misfortune Zyra is locked in.
Oh yes, the Corki. I didn't even see that. You see, I'm old school. I see Corki, I think AD carry. But no, you're right. The Corki is going to be going mid. Don't taunt me.
He's teasing. There's no way.
No, there is.
As much as
really
the both
way.
of us would love to see an Aatrox being played in one of these tournaments, it will never happen. I don't believe it.
Well, don't say never. Aatrox is on the chopping block. Sounds kind of gruesome, but Aatrox is on the chopping block for a rework coming up in the next.
I should rephrase. Until he is buffed or reworked, we probably won't be seeing him anytime soon.
Yes, a champion with the same name as Aatrox, but not his current tool set, might be seen on the Rift. But I doubt that currently Aatrox will be seen on the Rift. You know, I actually looked up statistics for Aatrox a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. There was one day, December 29th, 2016, where Aatrox in Diamond 4 Plus gameplay had 100% win rate because so few people played him, and all of them won. Literally, he got played 5 times that day, and they were. That is how small a sample size of Aatrox games there are in high-level play. There was a very much darker day as well. I think it was, I can't remember the exact date, but sometime earlier in the month of December, Aatrox had a 0% win rate because of the same situation but reversed.
Reminds me of the high level Urgot win rate in Challenger.
Oh man. But we aren't going to be seeing either of those champions here tonight. We do have for sure. I like the Annie alongside a Hecarim. There's actually a lot of potential to just shut down a mid lane between that duo. If we see Finest Lee Sin and Downy Puff cooperate during the laning phase and we see a lot of focus towards the mid lane, which I wouldn't be surprised, it's going to be really hard for Avengus to get the same sort of lead that he had last game, and that might be a great game plan for Wing Chun tonight. But we've got a spectator delay to get through one way or another, and we're not going to know until we get to the Rift.
Absolutely. So on that note, we are going to be taking a small commercial break, and as soon as we are in game, we'll be right back. So don't go anywhere, folks. And we're back. Let's get started. We got the scoreboard up, and we're ready to go.
Alrighty. And yeah, I am excited to see Doc continue their journey here, potentially continue their journey into the finals. They had quite a good showing there in the
Absolutely.
first quarterfinal match.
It's worth noting there were very few mistakes from them in the last game, and any mistakes were minor ones. They weren't like anything game-breaking or huge.
They have made a small mistake already, though, in that they didn't set themselves up in the lobby in LCS, and it's tilting me. So I'm gonna have to
You're right.
rearrange that.
I'm gonna have to.
A horrible, horrible mistake, but really only in the eyes of the two guys talking about the game on mic. I think the rest of us don't really mind that much. Oh my god, Kristic, please calm down.
He's just so excited.
He really is.
He's bouncing around in his excitement.
That'll be an interesting lane to watch, which usually you can't really say about an upless be popular, but Kristic had a solid performance last game and up against a very aggressive laner in the form of Bloodbath. So.
Absolutely. He was able to build just so tanky. That early, instead of getting the Sunfire Cape first, he went for the Iceborne Gauntlet, which gave him quite a significant DPS increase.
Yeah, and I liked that adaptation. To be honest, there's been some really creative League of Legends from the entirety of DBD. Of course, the static Shiv choice that we saw out of Avengeus's Twisted Fate.
Rapid Fire Cannon.
Sorry, pardon me. Yeah, Rapid Fire Cannon. Static Shiv would make no sense. The Rapid Fire Cannon to increase his range and get those autos, even make him more of a potent split pusher. And on top of that, the Iceborne Gauntlet, as you mentioned, for Kristic. So just really creative, interesting League of Legends. Both. That's the kind of thing I like to see in the amateur scene.
Absolutely. Well, Arrow Skies and Kristic going at it.
This Arrow's going to be pushed back there. Nautilus does have a pretty darn solid level 1, but then again, so does Poppy, especially as you can land that passive. And meanwhile, Ambulance looking to push Sprugster and Silver Kotek back. He plays a very aggressive Karma, sometimes to his detriment, but it seems like in the laning phase at the very least, it has got them a bit of an edge.
Absolutely. This is a lane I haven't seen, a Misfortune and a Zyra. I've seen Misfortunes and Zyras, but never together.
Yeah, Misfortune AD Carry is, let's just say, not quite as popular as she is in some other roles. I've seen it once or twice before. The last time that I saw an MF Zyra in current meta, at the very least, it actually used to be really popular, but in Season 7, staying within the zone of relevance, was actually a adaptation in the draft phase so that they could pick Zyra and not have it be countered by MF. They picked the Zyra and just grabbed MF as a AD carry. I doubt that's what we were doing here, though, actually, because Revenant had already picked his Varus, but that's a flash from Downy Puff. Early aggression from Oliver Phillips to the mid lane.
Absolutely. Oliver Phillips continuing his trend of fairly decently early aggressive ganks.
Yeah. And I think the mid lane is the right target for him, as I imagine that's where we're going to be seeing the Hecarim show up pretty soon as well. So actually, he may be gravitating more towards top.
He's picking up that Scuttler right now in the mid. The river, I should say, in the mid. It is kind of the mid, but the wrong direction. He's
actually pretty deep into the enemy jungle at the moment. Directed camera isn't showing it, but Oliver Phillips does spot out Finest Lee Sin there, whose name is going to get rather confusing, especially if Lee Sin gets picked at any point coming up with him still in the bracket.
Absolutely. Arrow's getting beat up a little bit on that top side. He's not having an easy time dealing with that Titan's Wrath.
Yeah. Titan's Wrath is a really, really powerful dueling tool, one that a lot of people often underestimate. A lot of damage is actually packed into that early on.
Absolutely. It's a lot of stats for a normal ability.
Especially, actually, if you time it right during a duel, because you do get the damage. The shield is still up. So some Nautilus players will wait until an opponent has burned at least a portion of their burst. With Poppy, you can wait until like the Hammer Smash comes down or something along those lines, and then shield thereafter, so they don't have the ability to break your shield, and they end up losing out of the trade because you have damage for longer. It's interesting micro.
Indeed.
With a champion that otherwise doesn't have a lot of interesting micro.
Can you hit hook? Nope.
Which is pretty challenging sometimes in and of its own right. Let's not underestimate the.
That is true. I won't knock it.
The fun and interestingness of a good hook.
Oh, damn. Downy Puff doing some good damage to Avengers. Avengers could be in a lot of trouble.
Good stun, too. Oliver Phillips, though, in the mid lane is going to be tossing him back.
Oh, Vengeance, it's so close.
And that was such a close bait. But Avengeance does manage to pull Downy Puff just that close to the turret and turn it back around with the help of his jungler.
Absolutely. Oliver Phillips making a fantastic gank to save the day. Taking full advantage of the fact that Downy Puff was being really aggressive with no vision and no flash.
It's a snare into Ambulance, but a snare back around onto Sprugster as Hail of Arrows comes down for a little bit of further poke. Revenant, though, out of mana, does not want to keep that trade going, and they'll back away. And you've got to imagine that was to some degree purposeful, but woo, a lot of damage into Ambulance, and we've got Hecarim coming into the bottom lane. Fight over that Karma, flash or no. The teleport getting cancelled as well from both sides, in fact, as the fight fizzles out with an easy single kill going over to Wang Chung.
Very wise decision from Aeroscus to cancel that teleport, as they were in a 4v2.
Yeah, and I mean, Christic as well. Not showing up makes a lot of sense at that point. The fight had pretty much abated. Oliver Phillips getting chased back, though, as Avengeance looks to chase Downy out of the lane. Now, past level 6, I think this matchup is going to swing towards Avengeance, provided he can keep range. And the reason why I think that is because he has more tools to keep range now with his volley fire of rockets.
Indeed. He also has that Hexdrinker now, so that's going to make him significantly harder to just burst down out of nowhere.
That's actually a really good point. The Hexdrinker, a great early buy against something like Annie, who is such a binary champion. You know, just either does enough damage to kill you or doesn't. There's no real ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Well, Revenant going to go ahead and back for the first time. He actually started with the longsword, just like Silver Kodak did. And it is going to be the tier build.
Yeah, one you don't see as often on Varus nowadays. If you do see the tier, then usually he'll just go right for the tier early on and then build into lethality items. Because one of the reasons you see Varus nowadays is because of lethality items. Things like Yumu's Edge of Night, all of that. The tier is a nice early pickup if you're a little bit ahead, though, because it does allow you to sort of just sustain your damage a bit longer. But I'm going to have to get back to that point in a moment. Oh, Aeroscus gets injected out of the Keeper's Verdict, and Oliver Phillips will not show any mercy diving into the turret. But, yeah, he goes down. Aeroscus trades it back 1-for-1. Those turret hits ramp up hard in the early game.
Absolutely. Oliver Phillips, of course, going for another similar build where he's building lots of damage in the early game.
Yeah. Possibly he may have made it out of there with some health early on, but I think he's not really regretting his choice. That is the first viality of the game, though. Good for Oliver Phillips to see it turn into a kill. Obviously not great that Aeroscus gets one back, but it does still mean that Christic is able to push another wave up and get it into the turret. It's already perished at this point, but he did deny another wave. As well as just get good base timing and come back to the lane ready to continue to crush it.
Absolutely. So far, he's managed to stay ahead by a pretty decent margin. Not a whole lot, mind you. It's only like a wave and a half.
Enough to make a difference, though, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. I'll have to see how Aeroscus kind of plays out, if he tries to even things out, or if he just lets it kind of play out.
Yeah. I'm interested to see as well where Christic goes with his builds. Kindle Gem is not really something you see often as a starter for a Nautilus, because usually he'll be rushing that Sunfire game as quickly as possible, especially into a physical damage lane like Aeroscus and the Poppy. But in the mid lane, we have that focus that I would Strinker, though, keeping Avengers alive for a little bit longer. Finally flashes out from under the turret, but that is not going to dissuade the teleport from Christic, as Downy Puff, without any summoners, is easy prey. Oliver Phillips is going to find Hecarim in the jungle as well. Try and turn him into some glue. There it is, the punch. The one punch that was all he needed. I tried to make a One Punch Man reference, but I wasn't quick enough to it.
Punched him so hard he turned into glue.
Oliver Phillips is running away with the early game again, and he's on a champion that does not fall off in the later game as well. Admittedly, it isn't really a huge damage threat in the end game, but has much more utility than the Lee Sin did, or at least much more easily accessible utility.
Absolutely. If he builds the same, though, it could be a problem. We've seen high damage Vi's get just blown up before they can even get their ultimates off, so we'll have to see what kind of durability he builds later on into the game.
Yeah, it's a possibility, but I don't think it's one that we're going to see, because it is just so effective to build tankiness on Vi after getting that 1, maybe 2 damage items. You don't really need to build any more damage than that. Because your job as Vi is never really to kill tanks. It's to kill squishies, and you don't need more than just 1 or 2 damage items to do that, even in the end game. Ooh, Oliver Phillips flashing over the wall. There's Arrow Skies, though, with the Steadfast Presence, does actually keep them both off of him, and Oliver of last time. Arrow staves off the dive.
If I had one criticism there, I think is they timed their ultimates kind of poorly. They both basically knocked up Arrow Skies at the exact same time, so they could have maybe timed that a little bit better, and Arrow Skies able to escape with his life.
Finds Lee Sin down in the bottom lane. There's the charge onto Revenant, takes the flash away from the Varus. Good use of time.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely can't take away from Finest Lee Sin. He's having a pretty good game himself so far, other than that one death to Oliver Phillips.
Mm-hmm. That was just after getting caught out from a bit of an aggressive gank in the mid lane. But yeah, these teams are once again pretty evenly matched up here in the early game. We saw that same situation last game, though, for Docs, and they won that game in pretty convincing style.
Absolutely.
An interesting dance there between the two ADCs.
Once Lifefire played their hand over their hand just a little bit too far, they just snowballed out of control. We'll have to see if we see a repeat.
Silver Kojak being able to dodge away from that second piercing arrow, but Revenant is... You can see it manifest in a small CS lead for him. It's because Misfortune just gets pretty badly outranged by the Varus Karma lane. One of the reasons why you don't see her often as an AD carry anymore. And why I personally don't really like her as a support, but she is relatively strong in a specific matchup, so I'll give her that.
I see Sprookster trying to get those waves pushed back in time for Silver Kodak to make it back. Doesn't want to miss too much CS. Especially considering Revenant does have the lead currently.
And something that's really surprised me this game, as we see Sprugster take a big chunk there, is how relatively little focus we've seen in the mid lane. I think both junglers have visited there once, maybe twice. I was anticipating mid lane action just every minute and a half, basically on ultimate cooldown for both of these junglers. And we haven't seen that quite yet. Actually, ults have been used elsewhere pretty much entirely.
Absolutely. We've seen a couple of visits from Oliver Phillips and then one visit from Finest Lee Sin. That's it.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like that's a decent amount of pressure on the mid lane with junglers. They're certainly not slacking. But I was just anticipating more than decent, more than average, because of this matchup and because specifically of the Annie pick, who's both really, really good for setting up ganks and also slightly vulnerable herself because of how immobile she is.
And we've seen both of those little aspects come into play in both of those ganks.
Yeah. Unfortunate missed anchor there from Kristic. However, still gets a good trade with Arrow Skies.
He's definitely taking the advantage here. He's going for what looks like another Iceborne Gauntlet. He's got that sheen.
Yeah, that very well could be it. I'm still interested to see where that Kindle Gem goes, but there's a hook on the Arrow Skies. He's trying, but doesn't have what he needed in the tank there.
A very solid set of a CC chain pushing the Rampage, pushing Kristic into the turret, and then the wall stun by Arrow Skies. Lets them pick up Kristic really easily. They do secure Dragon for it, though.
Yeah, Finest Lee Sin spending some time top lane, gives up that Air Drake. Admittedly not the most powerful of the elemental dragons, but actually some people have started to argue for it in favor of something like an Ocean Drake early on, after the series of buffs that it's gotten. There's the Tendrils of Corruption. Silver Kojak might be the target here, but teleports coming in from both top laners could make this fight a little more spicy. Kristic lands the auto onto Arrow Skies as a flash backwards. Downy Puff is here. Finding a face wall of the enemy team, gone almost instantly. There's the package from Corki. Avenginus is going to find Sprugster dashing back out over the Zyra ulti. Not even going to get knocked up. And Arrow Skies' Keeper's Verdict is a final parting gift to an enemy team that has already taken quite a bit.
Absolutely. If that had been right at the start of the fight, that would have knocked Kristic in a perfect spot because he's just at that little corner of that, right below that tri-bush. It would take forever for him to get back to a fight like that. But obviously it came too late.
And a kill there going over to Revenant is a pretty big deal. But speaking of Revenant, wow, he's gone.
I thought he was going to, just almost die, but nope, he just died.
No, that's an AD carry. That's an immobile AD carry in Season 7.
I
That is the
didn't
fate.
quite look at Finest Leeson's build where he has lots and lots of swords.
Admittedly, there was a flash burn there from Finest Leeson to claim the kill, but
Oh, he's using
it's a
Flash
sad
and not
state.
Ghost. I didn't even think about that.
What was that?
Finest Leeson is using Flash and not Ghost on Hecarim. Didn't even think about that. A little weird.
Yeah, it is an interesting choice.
It's not a
helped him out
terrible
there.
choice, obviously.
I mean, I
but-
suppose the Ghost probably still would have gotten him up next to Revenant, though Revenant might have been able to ult him had he had that cooldown up. One way or another, though, the Flash did get him the kill there. I don't think it's that huge of a choice. It is interesting for sure. Attempted hook onto Arrow Skies. Got an even trade between the top laners.
Tovar Christic still doesn't have any armor. He only has the Merc Treads now.
Has Tendrils of Corruption on the Silver Kochek. As he has to flash away, Revenant will flash after him. He carries, but Silver with the ulti and that early armor pen. Too many bullets. Just way too many bullets. Ooh, that double up almost claimed the kill. Wambulance got out with 10 health. Woo!
That must have been a surprise for Revenant. I don't think he was expecting to get just bursted down so quickly under bullet rain.
Yeah, no. That is the true meaning of a bullet hell game right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of those Japanese shoot 'em ups, except like you just don't have anywhere to dodge at all. Finally sent over the wall. Oliver Phillips trying to follow. Interaction between the animations means that the horsey gets away.
Either the Vile Throw was either too late or too early. One of the two.
Yeah, tried to slam him down like where he was because Lee Sin, or Finest Lee Sin, the player, not the champion, couldn't be interrupted during his ult. Didn't actually follow him and go through with the CC. There's the knockup on the arrows, guys. Finest Lee Sin will keep going.
Jesus.
God, this horse has damage. He has way too many swords. I think he strapped them all to his feet.
And part of that is
You
Christic
know.
obviously just doesn't have any armor.
They should make a skin. Or no. They should give Camille a passive where when she buys swords, she gets movement speed.
No, that just sounds
Because her
silly.
feet are swords. because they're shoes for her. Do you get the
I get it.
Good. I want to make sure that the pain of that joke was felt. Sprugster flashes to avoid the vault breaker there from Oliver Phillips. And we return to Quiet on the Rift. The junglers are really the star players on both sides here, which is something you don't often see. Usually if there's like a shining light for one team, then their opposite number is dim and dark because they've just been crushed. But junglers don't necessarily meet up with one another very often, as they are all over the Rift.
Oh,
such
might
as
could
the
be trouble here.
job description.
Nope. Karma going to
No,
use
it's
that.
like the Karma enhanced Inspire there. But yeah, both of these junglers are sitting rocking with equivalent score lines, a little bit more gold for Hecarim there, but I think focus is going to have to lay on both of these champions for how we move now into the mid end game. I'm not really sure what to call it. It's that awkward adolescent period of the game, right before 20 minutes and right after it, when a lot of things are decided.
Absolutely. Kind of curious to see what Finest Leaf is building next. Next is Ghostblade, I think.
Where are we looking?
Finest Leaf said
Hecarim?
he's not
Yeah.
going for the Trinity Force like we normally see on Hecarim jungles. He's going.
Yeah, he's going armor.
That was
okay.
up.
I
Okay.
think he was trying to get because every time Christic has landed a hook, Arrow Skies has responded with Steadfast Presence. I thought he was trying maybe to get the Steadfast Presence cooldown because it is a longer cooldown than the hook. One way or another, though, as we probably well know, this is not really going to be a very tempestuous and exciting fight.
Well, the good news for Christic is
gonna
he
say
does
two
have
words
some
for it.
armor now. He has that Ice Morgana. Hello.
Ooh, Tendrils of Corruption landing on a Silver Kochek. That is a very, very dead AD carry. Revenant fighting back with some CC of his own.
Well, speaking of Trinity Force, that is indeed what Oliver Phillips will be building. And we'll probably see some tank items after him. I imagine. And Christic is winning, but here comes Finest Lee
Again,
Sin.
Every time Christic goes for the fight, Fine is waiting right around. Meanwhile, though, because of this focus towards the top lane,
Oh wow! I can't believe they
follow
all...
the Nautilus, but there's the package. Avenges is going to be able to take this fight. He's got the exhaust. There's the shutdown. Valk forward. We'll see if he can reach Aeroskies. No, his rockets are falling just short. Yeah, Aeroskies is out, but still 1-for-1 trade in terms of kills. Dragon going over to Doc, and they're going to get a lot of damage on this turret. They may very well take it. They've got a large wave. First turret blood is still waiting to happen. No, the rocket flies wide! Avengers might be able to make it out of it. I think he makes it out of this, but that's so unfortunate.
That probably would have done it, too. It was so close.
I mean, second air Drake, first brick. The thing about dragons is none of them individually are insanely strong. The only one you can really say that might be crazy strong just as a single dragon, as a single version of its buff, is the Volcanic Drake. Or Infernal Drake, pardon me.
Infernal or Volcanic, I can never remember.
Infernal, I believe, is the correct terminology.
I think Volcanic would be, but whatever. It's not important.
Whichever dragon you're talking about, they become almost multiplicatively better. Not just additively better, but like multiplicatively so when you stack the same types of buffs. Because everything in League of Legends gets better with specialization. And now that the whole team is rushing around the map with those multiple wind drakes. Maybe back to my point. Christic turning on Defiant Lee Sin. He actually has quite a bit of damage onto this Hecarim who's built full glass cannon. Speaking of quite a bit of damage, Sprugster gets a face full of it. And Oliver Phillips is on a killing spree. But yeah, the global maneuverability that double Cloud Drake offers a team now is going to be just so much better than single Cloud Drake. You know, more than twice as good because of just the nature of breakpoints. You know, you're either at a fight or you're not. So having all that extra movement speed means you're more often at a fight.
Oh no, Christic
though. Lee Sin tosses him back under the turret, but meanwhile, mid lane, the turret goes down. So much focus onto this Nautilus. I'm really not sure why.
It is definitely a little on the bizarre side. Looks like Christic will be building Warmogs out of that Kindle Gem. That makes sense now.
And with this double Cloud Drake, like, they're not going to be able to take the turret, even. Doc can rotate up there really fast and hold that lane off easily. So it really is just a kill onto the Nautilus and a little bit of damage in the other turret. And they lose their mid lane turret, and they may very well lose this top lane turret now as Air hold off the duo. They just need another minion wave to show up.
Very quickly clearing out that minion wave with the piercing arrow.
So I suppose Finest Lee Sin is rowing back up towards the top again. This really isn't the lane that I was anticipating this much focus on this game, but Arrows guys.
Oh. There's a teleport, though. Here comes...
Oh, and you have to keep in mind that Finest Lee Sin is insanely squishy because of his glass cannon, Hecarim build, and Oliver Phillips showing up as well. Means a 4v2 turns into an easy finish for Doc.
That's another turret to Doc as well, so they are starting to take control of this game.
Yeah, questionable macro play from Wang Chung. Over the last 5 or 6 minutes or so, they've had priority on a lot of the wrong things, and Doc have a penchant for early Barons. They're going for one again.
They are completely uncontested. They have all the vision control in the world here. They're going to lose a turret for it, but turret for Baron at 23 minutes.
Yeah, and that's the first turret of the game for Wang Chung. The multiplicative nature of stacking advantages in League applies to almost everything. It applies to turrets as well. Taking that one turret back doesn't matter nearly as much when the enemy has 3. And Baron? Well, Baron's just going to multiply their effectiveness on the map by tenfold.
I'm not going to be surprised if we don't see at least 2 turrets taken here. At least 1. But we are seeing Christic rotate down to the bottom side. He does not have teleport right now, so after he clears that wave, I think we'll see him go mid.
And if this does eventually turn into a victory for Doc Stongers, then that's a scarily formulaic way of playing the game. They just take advantage of opponents' macro mistakes and get 24, 25-minute Barons. They've done it twice in a row now.
Oh, here comes Oliver Phillips.
Sprugster, pardon me. I don't think Oliver Phillips needs to be that afraid of the turnaround, but if he sticks around, he will eventually go down. That's a shut trade at the very least. Revenant claims a killing spree. I don't know if that was worth it.
I kind of have to agree there. I don't think the jungler for the support was a good trade overall.
Yeah. Then we see uncharacteristic poor macro play or poor just decision making by Doc as Oliver Phillips commits a bit too hard for that kill. But they've still got the pressure here. Still able to shove in onto this turret.
And it's going to be Tibbs go down here. Oh, here comes a Finest Lee Sin out of nowhere.
Yeah, package, though, is... He queued up the animation. Aven just did a great job there, actually. He queued up the animation on the package as Rampage was about to knock him out of it. So even though Finest Lee Sin burns the flash to try and get in there, still doesn't come out with anything for his troubles. Does still have the ulti available, so they can make another attempt at an engage, but all the while they're just such a poke tax while they try and defend this turret. I mean, they're against Corki and Varus. They can't defend anything for very long without turning back and going for some sort of engage, otherwise they'll just get whittled away at.
Absolutely. We're seeing also Doc rotating for a third Dragon of the game. It is another Air Drake.
Yep, and my point earlier about 2 Air Drakes being more than 2 times as good as 1 still sort of stands to reason here. Of course, you do eventually get into the realm of diminishing returns, because as I said, you're either at the fight or at the objective that you need to be at, or you're not, and you can't really be more at the fight. But maneuverability doesn't hurt.
Well, it certainly enables them more choices for choosing when they want to fight.
Yeah.
Kind of curious to see how fast they are.
And if you were able to choose, I think, if you were able to choose what kind of drakes you had, and your options were 1 of each or 3 air drakes, I think it would actually be the wise choice to go for 3 air drakes most of the time because of the way that specialization pays off in League. Which is something that not everybody might agree on, and that is just this humble caster's opinion.
I can definitely see the benefits of the triple air drakes because they are going to be very quickly when rotated around these maps.
Yeah, I mean, particularly with a Karma as well, and even like the mobility of Corki and Vi snuck in there. There's a teleport coming to the top side, but it is going to get canceled out, actually. I think Aerosky's actually managed to cancel that away, as Downy Puff is going to be trading his life. No, 1 more auto comes through, but it's not enough! Downy Puff makes it out with barely any health left. Avenges is going to go down, Finest Lee Sin charging into the backlines. Finest Lee Sin turns back around, barely has any health left, but Oliver Phillips slays that man.
Oh, there's the exhaust, though.
He gets exhaust on the way back into the fight. Silver Kochek claims the kill.
Oliver Phillips definitely would have turned around, but very nice exhaust by Sprugster, saving the life.
And exciting action in the bottom lane. A duel for the centuries. Or actually, something of a duel up here on the top side. No! So close. Wambulance had the airstrike heal coming in, but it didn't land fast enough. A good fight, actually, overall, from Wing Chun.
Absolutely.
They really needed to come back into this one. The tossed buckler is going to be almost landing the slow. There's the flash forward for the hammer smashes. Morton Christic still has 100 health, finally. Arrows guys claims the kill.
Downy Puff coming in with the Proto Belt to save the day. Actually, I think that Arrows guys would eventually have gotten Christic, but it would have taken a bit more time than we'd have liked.
Protobelt Annie is just really fun. I like that idea. That's really good. Because Annie's issue has always been getting people in range to execute her combo. So Downy Puff solving that issue to some degree with itemization. I like it quite a bit. We've had some really interesting itemization in the tournament tonight. I would just like to appreciate that. I can't say that there's anything revolutionary, I think, in that idea. If you think about the champion, you think about the item, it makes just a lot of sense building it. But it's certainly something that I hadn't thought of yet, mainly because I don't really think about Annie a lot, to be fair.
Not exactly one of my most played characters, that's for sure.
Yeah. Powerful, but never really powerful enough.
Indeed.
There was a brief spat of time where Annie was the support of the month.
Absolutely.
Or the patch.
Seeing Doc doing a very good job defending that mid turret with the combination of Revenant and Vengeance, keeping that minion wave nice and clear.
Baron going to be up again in just about a minute, and we've seen that Doc have no qualms about taking on the big purple lizard.
It's more of a
think
snake or a worm.
I have not. I'm going to be 100% honest with you here, Effect, and with the stream at large. I have not actually taken the time to review my taxonomy of dragon and baron.
Well, dragons are obviously dragons.
I'm 100% up to date on exactly what species both of these creatures are, but he looks like a lizard. And you can't deny that. You can't take that away from me. Damn it. He looks like a lizard, and he's purple. But yeah, I think more vision around the Baron Pit is going to be a huge priority for Wang Chung, if they are at all aware of DBD's penchant for this buff. And at the moment, they're actually kind of lacking in that regard.
There's certainly not much in the way of vision. They only have one blue trinket, so they're not going to be able to easily spy out a Baron that's being done. But Doc, instead of going for the Baron, is going to be going for that top turret, which is already very close to dying.
Yeah, Arrow's going to do his best to hold this out, but going to be difficult against Avenges, who has once again gone for the combo of Sheen item plus Rapid Fire. But Wambulance getting chased backwards, again the punching bag in these team fights.
Finest Lee Sin is just
As
so squishy.
Avenges is going to be packaging to the back lines. Really aggressive Corky play. He pays for that one with his life really quickly. That's not a great start to the fight for DBD. Revenant, pardon me, is still dealing a good amount of damage. And with one carry down, DBD still turn it back around and claim a kill. That package was certainly really dangerous for both sides. It was obviously dangerous for Avenges. It cost him his life, but it was placed in such a way that it worked sort of like just a Rumble ulti. It did a lot of damage even post-mortem.
Absolutely. We saw Finest Lee Sin barely escaping with any HP. Just his lack of tank itemization starting to kind of bite him a little bit here at his later portions of the game.
And yeah, that's going to lead into the purple snake, lizard, dragon, beast creature. Hey, did that cover my bases?
Yes.
Are we good? Oh man, Lee Sin trying to cover his own bases, but no, that's the secure from Oliver Phillips. And he is sent right back home to the gray screen.
Getting nice little sepia tones make me thinking he will now build Trinity Force, judging by his items, but man, he's just so
that's
squishy.
So aggressive.
If he can
Yeah,
find...
he's got an Edge of Night Yu's Warrior. Like the general rule of thumb that we're seeing actually Oliver Phillips follow for a aggressive jungle who scales off AD. So something like Vi or Hecarim, they're actually rather similar if you think about itemization-wise, is to go for 1 or 2 damage items. Preferably a Warrior Enchant plus a big hard-hitting item like a Triforce, or maybe an Edge of Night or a Yunus, and then tankiness. And we're seeing why. As fine as Lee Sin diving into these fights, he's an ult bot. He gets an ult off and doesn't do anything else, whereas Oliver Phillips is able to ult someone still, be quite effective in that regard, and then still also stick around for further crowd control, for peeling purposes, for higher damage, pretty much any purpose that his team could need. And is the reason why you don't see these Glass Cannon Hecarim builds, or Glass Cannon Vi or anything like that.
Indeed, though I have to imagine that it's a lot of fun if you can find somebody out by themselves and you just evaporate them. But for team fighting in a tournament setting, maybe not the best decision.
Yeah, and in solo queue, you can certainly have a lot of success with it. It's a build that's powerful in its own right in certain ways, but not the kind of ways that you want in competitive League of Legends, where team fights are much more the focus of the day, and where teams will not allow their players to be caught out and alone, at least not without some sort of ulterior motive or consequence.
Indeed. Downy Puff looking for an opportunity to get nice and close, but not getting it. He's getting poked out really hard by Revna there.
We see the strategy developing here from Doc of shoving in a minion wave, using it to get 1 or 2 autos off in the turret. Avenges in particular waiting for the rapid fire cannon and then landing a Triforce enhanced auto attack onto the turret and just nettling it down that way. It's working pretty well, but Downy Puff is going to turn back around with the damage. The bullet time, of course, coming over the team fight as well. That's a lot of damage out of Silver Kochek, and it's a 2-for-1 trade so far. As fine as Lee Sin he melts, he trades 1 for 1 up against the enemy mid laner. That's not what you want to see. Krista going to turn back around, but there's not a lot of damage left between Oliver Phillips and Krista. It's enough, though, to bring down the low health Annie, but on the way out, they may be in some real trouble here as Silver Kochek is able to keep the chase going. Possibly? No, Aeroskies has turned back onto Kristic. They've split up. I think Oliver Phillips gets out, and Kristic is the sacrifice, yeah.
Indeed. Saw that Oliver Phillips was winning. He went up looking for an opportunity to dash back onto Silver Kotek, but Silver Kotek read it and like, I'm not getting even remotely close to that.
That was, again, another really good scrappy fight from both sides. And another example, perhaps, of why the Glass Cannon Hecarim build doesn't work out so well so often. Is right there, Finest Lee Sin, the best he could do in that team fight where damage was flying everywhere. was just trade 1-for-1, whereas Oliver Phillips actually managed to do quite a bit more than that as well as make it out alive. But that is a juxtaposition which we've harped on long enough,
Indeed.
I think.
Speaking of Oliver
And-
Phillips, we see he has that Banshee's Veil completed now, and working on what I imagine to be that Guardian Angel we see so often.
Yeah. And speaking of GAs, Revenant has already picked up one for himself, and in fact is sitting at full build right now. So we're approaching the super ultra mega late game, as I
Well,
like to call it.
the good news for Wang Chung is that Revenant isn't going to be hitting any harder anytime soon.
Yeah, that's true. And the good news as well for Wang Chung is that they do have answers to an immobile. They've got Annie to get her in range. They've got Finest Lee Sin, who, even with this build that we've criticized a good amount, if he finds himself in a 1v1 or even just kind of a slightly isolated situation with Revenant or Aventus, will be able to win that fight because of his high damage. The problem, though, lies in the fact that they should just never be in that situation. You know? I
Absolutely.
don't think that mistake is going to happen very reliably. And you don't want to rely on your opponents making that mistake.
Seeing Doc set up an ambush here, but they're... So far, no one is coming. They're going to go ahead and decide, take too long.
Yeah, I mean, they've got priority on this bottom lane, though. That turn auto attacks are down. But it looks like there's a response, perhaps, in time here from Wang Chung. Yeah, they've formulated an answer.
It's going to be really close. There's the
May
teleport.
not be enough, though. I mean, Aventus just needs to auto that one more time with the Triforce Enhanced Auto. It will go down.
Drugster almost dying to Piercing Arrow there, taking a
it's-
lot of damage.
It's going to be really hard to keep this thing alive. Basically impossible unless they pick a fight before the next minion wave arrives.
That one wave is almost enough to kill it. This next one should do the trick if they play aggressively.
I mean, it's more just that Aventus has the rapid fire
There it is.
kill on the turret. Finest Lee Sin diving to the back lines. Look, try and bring in the kill on the Varus. Pop his GA, but that is the purpose that Revenant fought that for. Meanwhile, Oliver Phillips, uncontested, diving onto the Misfortune, is simply going to walk back on out of the fight. And now the inhibitor is under fire. Aventus has his eyes set on the objectives pretty firmly here. Dashing forward, looking to try and claim the kill. The rocket doesn't land, and Aventus may be paying for his Russian. Finest Lee Sin, though, has to dash out of the fight, a defensive Hecarim ulti, when the enemy team is pushing far into your base. It's a depressing thing indeed, and the inhibitor will go down. This could actually be game here. Woo! You see the speed at which he lost that speed. He was zooming around with Rampage and Home Guards, and then suddenly he took damage and wasn't going fast at all anymore. He claims actually 420 gold off the Corki, appropriately enough, blazing into that team fight. But Nexus is going to go down, and this is GG, our first semifinal match.
Absolutely. I gotta say, despite how much I criticize the build, it does look like so much fun just to zoom through a fight and basically do a drive-by on one of the carries.
Yes, but you're just consigning yourself to a one-to-one trade.
That is
and
indeed
sometimes
true.
that's enough. Sometimes that's enough, but you don't want to always just guarantee that. And I don't know. We talked about it enough in that draft.
I do agree that a build similar to Oliver Phillips would have definitely been a wiser choice.
Mm-hmm.
But on that note, we are going to be we are indeed going right to the finals. The other bracket has already ended, so we'll be going right into that. So just give us a minute, folks. We'll be right back.
I drink too much. I tell myself that I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. That I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. Clearly now. Clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. I smoke too much. I drink too much. I tell myself that I can't stop. We could see clearly now. 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 Clearly now. Clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now.
And here we are in the finals of the evening. It's going to be between Bendover Gaming, BDG, facing off against... I have to look it up again because it's... Doc's Big Dongers. It's a rather unusual name.
That's one way to put it. But yeah, Bendover Gaming are a roster that we've definitely seen in the past. They've made it through the semifinals, through the finals, I believe, as well, and have taken home victories in our little tournament.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, noteworthy for butting heads with Lifefire quite frequently, but of course Lifefire got knocked out by Doc's Big Dongers this time.
yeah, so Doc have already taken out one of our returning contenders. We'll see whether or not they can do it to two. Find out now. Find out now, actually. It's not nearly as exciting, is it, when it's happening right then? You don't have anything to anticipate.
Well, we definitely don't have too long to wait. We're going through the bands fairly quickly. Fairly standard fare, nothing unusual.
Yep, the Camille ban, as always. Lee Sin taken away there from Oliver Phillips makes a lot of sense. And the Jin ban, I don't know. Revenant played a pretty solid Varus last time around, but that's banned out as well. So we're going to have to see him branch out a bit. And we'll see what the last ban is.
Yep,
I'm not
like only a
sure.
couple more
Maybe-
seconds. They're definitely taking their time here. It's going to be a Corky.
Yeah, Corgi Ben, I guess makes some sense. I guess Avengers just doesn't want to face that out in lane. We've already seen him face a Corgi, though. He faced Twisted Fate and did quite well. But I like the Ashe pick. AD carry position right now is just kind of a holy trinity of Jhin, Varus, and Ashe. And with two of those banned out and the other one picked away, you have to kind of go down to a second stringer, AD carry at this point.
Probably, if I had to make a guess, probably a Caitlyn would be my first.
Yeah, you could definitely go Caitlyn. You can go Misfortune, like we said.
Caitlyn,
Always
Ezreal,
popular.
Misfortune are probably maybe the three possible picks we see from Revenant. But it is going to be Wambulance make a return to the Karma.
Presumably, I suppose it could go to a Vengeance, as well as a Kha'Zix grab. So a high priority jungler going to be the answer to priority a carry? I kind of like that. Oliver Phillips is certainly at least a big portion of the crux of his team. He's been fed in both of their victories so far, so seeing him on something that can carry pretty hard makes a lot of sense. Graves and Lulu the picks thereafter, though. I like seeing Lulu. She did get a buff recently. Not a very large one, but her help picks damage got buffed, as well as just picks damage in general on auto attacks or passive damage. And I believe she got some cooldown tweaks, or no, it was mana tweaks. So she's just generally a slightly better champion now, numeric.
Definitely interesting to see Lulu making a return. We don't, like you said, we haven't seen her a whole lot. I think in the past couple months we've seen her once.
Yeah, she's been kind of hovering on the edge of viability. Buff is sometimes enough to push a champion forward.
Absolutely. She did, of course, get nerfed back when she was seeing a lot of top lane play. That was such an annoying. But that's been some time, and we seeing Ezreal and the Maokai being locked in. Krista making a return to the big tree.
Yeah. Ezreal's pretty much one of the only few options they could have gone with. I actually don't really like the Caitlyn that much. Falls off in the mid game, which is where a lot of these matches have been decided a little bit too hard. So I like the Ezreal a bit more, as if you build him aggressively, he can actually spike pretty hard in the mid game with a Triforce build or something along those lines. See, the final picks to round out the composition here are Shen for a bit of global pressure, sure. And also just to keep the immobile carry safe. That's going to be very hard, actually, to tunnel in the Ashe or the Graves now, with Lulu and Shen to keep them safe.
What is this last pick gonna be? They need a mid laner.
Yeah, it's got to be blind, because both teams have saved mid lane for the very end. And Syndra doesn't surprise me all that much. She's just generally an all-around very strong laner. It's not to say she isn't without her counters, though. One of them, though, has been banned out. A lot of people actually really like into Syndra, and Corki's off the table. You can go something like Echo. We see Echo pretty often into Syndra's. Fizz, not Aatrox.
You can't fool me, Christic.
Oh, man. They've been so mean to us. They've been so very mean to us.
Yes.
For those of you perhaps new to Reverie here, both me and Effect are
Aatrox enthusiasts?
self-flagellating Aatrox mains. We don't like ourselves, and so we play Aatrox. So often teams will hover it when we're casting their matches. But TF is a return to form here for Avenges. I like it for two reasons. One, it does pretty well into Syndra. She kind of outranges him, and that's not going to be such a... But we saw Avenges' Twisted Fate earlier. He did well into the Corgi matchup, which he shouldn't win as well. So maybe he'll be just fine. And two, it matches the global pressure of the Shen, like it did the last time we saw it picked. So it's a solid pick, I think, provided he can avoid dying to Syndra, which is always a pretty scary provision, but hey.
Makes me curious to see what his itemization is, because we saw the Roa into the Lichbane before. Now we might see the Roa into an Abyssal Scepter instead. That would help him survive any getting accidentally caught out by a sphere by focus.
Yeah, certainly, actually, a really viable option for him. And maybe we'll go for it. I feel like even with an Abyssal down, if he is ever caught out by focus, because Cinder just does that much damage. But we've got a bit of spectator delay before we can get into the match, so I'm going to throw it over to Effect here.
We will be taking a tiny commercial break, and once we are in the game, we'll be right back, so don't go anywhere, folks. And we're up and into the sepia screen as somebody having a little bit of an error.
Yeah, it seems like one of the players took the wrong masteries going to the game. We may be having a remake. We may get in touch with some admins at the moment. Give us just a few minutes to figure out exactly whether or not we're going to be hopping into a different game. However, that said, even if we do, it is going to be the same picks and bans, same champions, of course, on both sides, and we'll get into it as soon as possible. So give us just a few minutes to figure that out, folks.
Looks like both teams are agreeing to it. It's actually BDG who's suggesting it, which is very sportsmanlike.
Yeah, noticing, also indicative of their, I guess, attention to detail. Noticing in enemy players incorrect mastery as the game starts before anything has even gone down. And arguably incorrect. I mean, they could always say, no, we meant. And just confuse the hell out of them because there's literally no way Kazakhs can use Courage of the Colossus. But hey, you could say that.
And I just can't. We still have the reconnect screen, so we can't quite join the new lobby just yet.
But yeah, give us just a few moments here, folks. We'll be as soon as we can.
Slight break. We'll be back as soon as we can be.
It's never too late to admit when you're wrong. Turn a new leaf, see a new dawn. The time to decide has come and gone. Just give me a chance, we can carry on. I made my choice, these drums of your voice, they run through my head as I remember the day. Stay in this moment. Fill the frame. They say we're lost without aim. Today the stars will lead red. Soon blue will guide us instead. I look at stars fill the frame. They say we're lost without aim. Today the stars will lead red. Soon blue will guide us instead.
And we're back with the champion select, but we don't need to do that. So, it's gonna be the same picks and same bands. Nothing's gonna change with that. We're gonna, as soon as hopefully they can burn through it pretty quickly, and once we are in the loading screen, we'll be back. So don't go anywhere, folks.
I don't wanna have to lie. I wanted this love to survive. Now when I look in your I feel paralyzed. Now I know it's over. I see you passing by, hand in hand, with your perfect light. My body, a ghost love, feels like someone cut my tongue. I didn't know my heart could die this young. Oh, now when I look in your eyes, I feel paralyzed.
And we're back. Sorry about that little bit of a delay, but we have BDG being quite the gentleman and allowing Oliver Phillips to change his mastery so they don't suck.
Yeah, so that he's not going courage on a champion with no hearts. Is there a word for the opposite of ideal? bad. I suppose bad. But it is an agreement come to between the two teams, and that is a beautiful thing to see in amateur League of Legends, which at points has been rife with strife. But now we have nothing but concordance and harmony as Karma does some nice, beautiful Tai Chi for us on the screen there.
Absolutely. And then soon these two teams that are in harmony will soon be beating each other up.
Well, yes, of course. It is a blood sport, after all, and we do have to have blood, death, murder, and carnage all.
But who says there
all
can't
at
be
once.
chivalry among the blood, death, and murder?
Most people, I think most people say that, actually.
Well, we're not most people here at Reverie.
Just because they want to kill each other doesn't mean they can't be friends.
They are seeing a fairly standard line of scrimmage. Nothing too unusual.
Yeah, I think that's intelligent. Tonight, due to the frankly massive number of teams that we had sign up as opposed to our usual roster, thanks for the musical backing, Frosty. We are only going to be doing, unless my information is incorrect, a best of one for our tournament. So not going for an aggressive early start makes sense for both sides. You don't want to give up an early lead and drastically throw the game one way or another when there's so much riding on just one single game.
Absolutely. Oh, Wambulance doing Wambulance things, getting some nice damage on the Frosty there.
Yeah. And Wambulance has stuck to this Karma the entire time that we've followed the journey of Doc through our tournament tonight, through the bracket. And it's had middling success for him. I'd say his lane on Karma is really, really solid. Wambulance is very good at controlling the lane, getting a lead. Even now with an Ezreal AD carry, as opposed to a Jhin or a Varus, who are much more lane dominant than he's had in the past, he's still playing far up. He's still getting good damage down. But when we get to the later game, Wambulance often finds himself turning the wrong corner, getting caught out, and being just decimated on the squishy Karma pick. And that's a matter of positioning more than champion choice. But it still worries me nonetheless.
Absolutely. It's something to be concerned about. We'll have to see what he does to adjust some of those late game errors. Once again, the Direct Camera loves this top side. Maokai versus Shen. Easily the most exciting game of League of Legends we'll ever see.
The more I see this matchup, though, the more I do actually really quite like the Shen guy. Mainly because of the new relatively reworked Fourfold Blade. And allowing him to do percentage damage. As you can see right here, he's actually going to chunk Christic decently hard. And also the fact that he doesn't have mana to worry about. Whereas Christic, of course, is going to have to conserve his blue juice if he wants to be able to make any sort of effective trading happen. So
Absolutely.
I'm more and more convinced of the Shen into the Maokai.
The Shen certainly has the advantage initially, but we saw Christic do some pretty good work on the other Shen, whose name I've now forgotten.
Bloodbath
and Beyond, that's it.
from LFA. Yep.
That was
First match of the cast of night.
Absolutely. Part of that might have been because of Bloodbath and Beyond's itemization, going right into that Sunfire with no magic resistance. I'll have to see what Comics does.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Comics is going to have to, I think, itemize differently to this than we saw Bloodbath do not so long ago, just a few short hours back. But admittedly, I say that I do favor the Shen in the matchup now, but I wouldn't say that it's a counter by any means. It's just a slight favorable advantage over to the Shen, and even then only for laning, because this is a tank v tank matchup, and it's really not going to break too hard one direction or the other because of that. Aventus is in some real trouble here, though. Does land the gold card with a focus. That's actually a good start to getting away from this. He may be able to conserve both summoners. Yeah, he doesn't have to burn either.
And he didn't even take damage from that Chinese Q there.
Yeah, the end of the line didn't quite reach.
It's gotta
He
be
was,
feel good for vengeance.
Beyond the end of the line.
Oh my.
Go!
That was bad.
Boom! Boom! Boom, I say to you. With confidence. Anyways, apologies. My sincerest and deepest, most heartfelt apologies for that. As you say, Revenant is actually being pushed back in the bottom line. Revenant and Wambulance. I was talking earlier about how Wambulance has done a great job, actually, of keeping lane control for himself and his AD carry, but the Ezreal into Ashe matchup is just a little bit too favored for it to continue into this game. Though, to be fair, Revenant is still holding ahead in CS.
definitely
just-
doing a very good job blast hitting. I think Wambulance is helping keep up the waves from getting too far forward with that AoE on the...
This is,
Oh my.
this is a bit too far forward from the Karma. Wambulance going to take quite a bit of damage on the way out there. They've got to respect the Ashe and Lulu a little bit more than that. Kind of hard to escape from this duo. They're gonna...
Oh, Donger Salesman
Wambulance
selling
will be
those
okay.
dongers.
Yeah, very forcefully. He has an aggressive sales strategy.
Just, you tell him to leave, he's like, no. I have things to say, and you will listen.
Not until you buy my dongers. They cost 300 gold each. Oh, man. He's found an irate customer in the bush. He flashed. Beautiful flash. Getting over the entirety of that huge section of wall there.
Frosty
Very well
and Donger Salesman escaping with their lives, but they do obviously pay for it with the flash. Let's see what happens in the next few minutes.
It's true, yeah. And Oliver Phillips' first gank of the game is arguably a success, whereas Cheney's wasn't able to actually result in any resources gained. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another visit to the bottom. There's not a lot of time before level 6 comes through, though, and it's going to make ganking that bottom lane a lot harder once Crystalline Arrow and Wild Growth are available.
Oh, Vengeance
Speaking
barely
of
getting away. By the way, your mic is going in and out again.
Oh, man. Apologies for that. I think that's an issue, actually, with the voice server that we're using, and not with my mic in particular. Because this has happened in the past, and I've looked into it. My name's Octavian, by the way. But yes, this has happened in the past. I've looked into it. It seems to be just something with Discord servers. Occasionally, they'll be a little bit spotty, which is unfortunate. Hopefully, it doesn't persist. There's really not much that we can do aside from swap to a different. Doing that mid-cast is kind of not very feasible. Christic, though, with almost no mana left to his name, is going to back up away from this gank. I think he's okay. Yeah, it's sidestepping the class. Really smooth moves there from Christic. Nicely done.
Absolutely. Very well played. Hello.
Flash forward. Yeah, he has just enough mana available after the Corrupting Pot is ticked for a little bit for that combo, but Cheney, with a Flash of his own, is going to make it out alive.
Yeah, Phillips also flashing forward, but not quite in range for a leap, I think. Or it was on cooldown, one of the two.
First blood still on the table. Both of these teams playing very aggressively. A slight, ever so slight gold lead over to DBD, but this is not going to be a pushover one way or the other, I feel.
Absolutely. And see Phillips trying to get that red buff. He's actually taking a lot of damage.
He doesn't have the smite, but I think he'll be okay. He's got healing up. Spikes, yes, he survives. Exciting play-by-play action.
Absolutely.
Can he take the red buff?
Or will the red buff get revenge for years of abuse?
Oh, it happens more often than you think.
Does happen quite frequently. That does...
The game has become a lot more forgiving about it, though. And I don't mean mechanically. I mean specifically the game, the announcer in the game. It used to be that when you died to a minion, the game would actually shout humiliation for everybody to hear. Like, that was in, I think, like, up until early Season 2 of League of Legends. They decided that that was a little bit too discouraging. The player who dies to the buff camp already knows that they've made a pretty crucial error. You don't have to add salt to the wound.
Absolutely. It's just basically saying, hey, look, this guy sucks, and then tells everybody.
He died, and it wasn't even to a player. He just died to the game. No, I mean, sometimes it happens. We all make mistakes.
Mistakes do happen.
Sometimes it also doesn't happen. Here's a duel up in the top lane, though.
Christic
A
once
duel may
again
be a
with
generous
the Kindle
term.
Gem.
Yeah, interesting itemization from Christic. Not going for the typical Sunfire Rush in any of the games we've seen. Valuing that cooldown reduction, but ultimates are available for pretty much everybody now, as we get Destiny popped, but not followed up on. Avengers choosing to hold back on his teleport.
I think he was thinking about going to that bottom side, but Oliver Phillip got caught out, and he might still be being caught out here.
Yeah, this is Scat of the Week. Long range stun on Oliver Phillips. Collateral damage comes down as well as Wambulance gets stunned, but Oliver manages to evade his way out of death.
Wambulance had once again with a very nice shield, reducing some of that damage on Oliver Phillips.
Yeah, and First Blood is still on the board. These teams are tiptoeing around one another with knives. It's a ballet dance with guns, knives, and swords all over the place. It's elegant violence, really. Avengers is going to land some good damage back into focus. This may be the first blood going down here. There's the ult! So close to dying. The auto, though, clinches it for focus as the gold card comes back out. He may have made it out of there if the gold card had even just traveled a little faster.
Yeah,
That is how close these matchups are.
Well, that is going to be BDG taking a nice lead. They get Dragon and First Blood.
Yeah.
It evens up the gold score, but that Dragon is going to be very useful.
Yep. And let me see what the next one coming up is. It's going to be an Ocean Drake, so we're not going to see, at least yet, any stacking of a particular dragon this match. A point on which I waxed pretty poetic last game. But let's see how Doc are able to answer back. First kill going over to focus on the Syndra is not exactly ideal for Doc, but, you know, they're still holding even in gold. I imagine once Destiny is available again, Avengers might be able to come back from that small deficit in the mid lane with a good teleport. I think that's actually going to be really key, where the next Destiny goes, because this mid lane matchup is starting to falter for Dongers.
Seeing Avengers not even bothering to finish the row, he has gone ahead and picked up the Negatron Cloak to reduce the burst that Focus is doing to him.
Yeah, there's that Abyssal itemization that you were talking about. Oliver was on a ward before he activated his stealth, so they knew he was coming in here. This is a really solid flank from BDG.
Poor Avengers.
This is the mark of a really well put together team. Like, a less coordinated team there would have spotted the Kazakhs, and Focus would have just backed up. And the gank wouldn't have happened, and that's good. You know, you deny the Kazakhs gank, that's fine. But no, BDG are coordinated and aggressive. They take the attempt at a gank from Oliver's Kazakhs, and they turn it back around. They have a 5-man stack there on that fight. And they not only get another 2 kills, but also claim first break.
Absolutely. Oh, it was a 5-man. Comics went ahead and teleported back to top lane to save it. And actually, it's going to be a second turret with this push.
Cheney? Cheney's dead. Revenant snipes a kill. Overextend. But still.
So Revenant managed to get something a little out of that, but that is still BDG taking a nice firm lead.
Yeah. The Dongers definitely need to find a more sure thing than just a simple 2-man gank in the mid lane. This game is a bit elevated above that. As we saw there, the instant any sort of action broke out, it was team coordination as a whole for the side of BDG.
Definitely very, very interesting, because it was just a lot thought Oliver Phillips was going to get away too, but then Frosty with the crystal and arrow out of nowhere. Puts them.
A lot of it.
It puts puts DBD in a really set of dire straits here. They're definitely not having an easy game.
Yeah, I mean, they do have some power spikes coming up. It looks like Revenant is going for the Trinity Force Ezreal, so once that's completed, they may be able to make a play around that. As I said, the next Destiny is going to be a huge deal breaker here, and we may actually see it towards the top lane. Yeah, there's the Destiny burn onto both Comics and Cheney, and this is exactly the sort of gank they wanted, but it looks like Comics and Cheney might be able to get out of this one alive. Avengers is chasing under the turret. The wildcards come down, but those are easily sidestepped. Now Focus, having followed the roam, a little bit late to the fight, but nonetheless roaring and ready to go. And that's just disaster for DBD. I mean, I said that the next TF ult was going to be just the playmaking decider, really, for this game, potentially. And to have it backfire that badly is so huge.
Absolutely. This is... everything is just backfiring. Dongers is just overall one step behind every single fight. And that's just ended up being devastating for them.
That being Donger the team, not Donger the salesman.
Yes.
Confusing to say the least.
So, does Doc's Big Dongers get their dongers from Donger salesmen?
Maybe they do. And maybe one person in our audience followed along with that sentence. I'd be happy if that were the case. But now the only thing really that they can fall back on is maybe the next Destiny and Revenant hitting the Trinity Horsepower spike. So if they're following along the same lines of logic as me, next time Destiny is up, we see a gank towards the bottom lane. We see Oliver Phillips showing up down there as well. I mean, maybe we just see a skirmish there right now. There's a Crystalline Arrow not shifted away from in time. The exhaust back down into Frost. So much to stop them from turning this one around. Doc don't have a fighting chance here. Frosty claims the kill. Oliver trying to turn it back around himself, leaping into the back lines. But even with the Ezreal ult flying across 4 members, there just isn't enough left in the tank for Doc.
We saw Oliver trying to jump in there, but...
I mean, Focus hasn't even been a part of this.
No, not at all. We might see another turret going down here. Christic is already super low. Revenant has low on mana.
Yeah, Christic is easy 300 gold fodder for the side of Bendovar. And it's a shove onto the outer turret here. This is Bendovar just playing the laning phase. They played about equivalent, these two teams. Each individual lane went about even, aside maybe from the mid lane where Focus did get about a 20 CS lead, which has carried through till now. But when the fights start to break out, BDG is just so much more coordinated. They are so quick to the trigger with almost everything. They have teleports, Shen ults, Rones, Frosty sniping people, and Doc are just left in the dust.
There's another Drake going over to BDG, further extending their already very firm lead.
Pardon me. In contrast, this Twisted Fate game to the last one that we saw from Revengeance, where at 18, 19 minutes, he had a nearly fully stacked Rod of Ages. Take a look at the depressing Rod of Ages number that he's got right now.
Yeah, it's definitely... Given that he did buy the Negaton Cloak and he's not getting as much gold this time around, it does make sense, unfortunately, for him.
Yeah, I mean, the math definitely works out. But it's depressing math, nonetheless.
Absolutely.
If you're, at least, on DVD.
Not so depressing for BDG.
No, I imagine not.
Frosty and Donner Sales will be making a full rotation to the top side with Comics trading places with them so he can split push the bottom.
Let's Focus aggressively moving into the enemy jungle for a bit of vision. And as you can see, vision is a priority now for BDG. They're looking to take that last juicy outer turret left standing. Their duo lane rotated up top side. Doc are responding, though, with actually quite a few numbers up here. If they can pick a fight, this might be worth it, but otherwise this seems like an overcommitment. They're spreading their farm a bit thin.
Absolutely. We're seeing... Comics isn't even here. He's on the bottom side split pushing while Christic is just hanging on top.
Yeah. I'm surprised that Christic spent so much time in the top lane. He kind of just stole away farm and XP from the duo lane, and Comics was given free reign alongside Cinder to keep the chase going, and now Frosty and Cheney are starting this fight here, assisted, of course, by Donger Salesman, and they bring down the Karma. Just slow rotations and poor macro play have been the name of the game here from Doc, and it's not a very good name, but Focus, even if he goes down, he claims a 1-for-1 in a 3v1 situation, but Comics is going to be teleported right on his head. That's the strength of a Stand United. Keeps chasing Avengers off, who just can't do anything to this Shen. Look at this. Look at this. Comics hasn't even taken damage. The TF is healing him. He's healing him with these auto attacks, I swear. Comics is just an unstoppable force at this point. And Christic is not the immovable object that he needs to be. Though he does get out of this alive, thanks in part to Wambulance showing up, in no small part. But meanwhile, top lane.
Another turret going over to BDG. Man, they have full control of this game. That is every outer turret, leaving only the inhibitors and Nexus turrets up.
Yep.
And Baron's going to be up in a couple seconds.
2 seconds, yeah. Literally a couple seconds. This is the move that we've been seeing all night from Dongers. And
the tables have turned.
We turned back on around on them. The 20-minute Baron take.
Oliver might be sensing it, but he's not going to get there in time.
Yep. Ward over the wall just to see it fall. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. And That's very well the final nail in the coffin. Really the final railroad spike in the coffin.
They're probably pouring concrete on the coffin at this point.
Yeah. It's already buried. It's going to take a excavation team to get DBD out of this one. And it really is just down to better execution on team fights.
Some of these counter ganks, I don't know if they were intentional or if just, accidentally timed extremely well. Either way, though, it was disastrous for Dongers.
And it all started going seriously wrong, like irreparably wrong almost, after that second Destiny from Avengus didn't manage to get them anything. Blue buff actually stolen away there from Cheney. The end of the line claims that, and Oliver Phillips is going to go down.
He was
DBD
silenced.
just get hunted out of their own jungle here. Wambulance is dead, for sure.
Yep. And that's two. They still have Baron up. They're reasonably healthy.
It's just a matter of closing it out now. Gotta break open the shell of inhibitor turrets, which can be something of a chore, but they've got all the advantages in the world to accomplish that, and it looks like they're going to be doing it pretty much uncontested up here.
That's going to be the first inhibitor of the game going down at 22 minutes, roughly. We'll see a full rotation to these mid-turret. There is minions here, so they can easily get this.
Yeah, this is the sort of textbook performance that we've come to expect to a degree out of BDG. They've been in a good few of our tournaments. 2 inhibitors down. They're going to back up, which only makes sense. No reason to press the advantage and potentially throw. That's really the only play with any sort of percentage of a loss, but maybe they can just turn around and claim the kill in the TF. There it is.
And casually just picking up a Vengeance, no problem.
Yeah. And Avengus has had such a rough game this time. This whole bracket, Avengus has been so solid. But the lane just started going bad from the start this match, and he's never had a good chance to recover. Every single early Destiny was just a flub. The first one he wasn't able to teleport in because the fight just went sour before he even arrived. The second one turned into a double kill for the enemy team. There's not much you can do with that.
Not much indeed. Dragon is going to be up, so it is going to be a third Dragon. Going to BDG, there's no surprises there. And then we'll see a full rotation to the bottom side if they just play it by the book.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 5-man stack in the bottom lane. The play that doesn't, of course, make the most sense. And really, they don't have very difficult questions to answer at this point on the side of BDG.
Yeah, certainly a very simple process now. 23 minutes in, 2 inhibitors, 3 dragons.
The power spike that I mentioned during the beginning of the end for Revenant's Trinity Force has come and gone without so much as a peep, really. And that's a really dangerous red buff to be taking, Oliver. It's a really dangerous red buff to be taking.
Especially, I'm guessing that Focus had some bug spray, and poor Kha'Zix just couldn't cut it.
Well, a 4-man stack in the bottom lane. Not quite 5, but Focus will be there in a moment. And this is the last vestige of safety that DBD have, and really it's not safe in the least. As the Iron Revenant shifts away, but not far enough away. The cone from the collateral damage still had enough reach there. Inhibitor turret going to go down. The inhibitor soon to follow, I'd imagine, as Cheney continues to drive back what little remains of DBD. Their strength depleted. DBD are routed back to their base as it crumbles into ruins around them.
Seeing the power of that collateral damage with all that lethality, poor Revenant didn't stand a chance. He just instantly exploded.
And one more death for good measure. And it looks like that's going to be just about it. That is the first and last match of our finals tonight. It is going to be 1. The double kill goes over to Focus, and it's really just a matter of right-clicking that Nexus a few times. Come on, guys. Come on, you can do it. There we go.
There it is.
And BDG claim not only the finals and the bragging rights, but also a spot in our buy-in tournament. Not this coming Sunday, but the week after, I believe. Don't quote me on that, though. As well as some extra swag. We're sponsored by Deco now, which is really cool and sweet. Who are a clothing company company. They make clothing specifically for gamers, and they each get a $15 gift card for Deco merchandise.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic new partnership for us. I'm always happy to have a nice little shout out for them. And of course, we can't go without saying our other sponsors. We have Battlefly, which is the website we use to kind of set up and run our brackets and tournaments. They also help get the tournament codes and all kinds of fun things. And what else do we have? We have a LOL History app. Some of you guys, of course, have seen some of the ads we were playing while we were waiting for games to load. LOL History app is a Android application or iPhone. It basically functions just like, say, LOL King or op.gg, but obviously on your phone. And last but certainly not least is Vibby, which is a website you use to create highlight reels without downloading additional software. You plug your video in, you cut out the bits you want, bam, instant highlight reel. That's what we use here at Reverie. And that's going to be it, folks. Congratulations once again to BDG. How do you pronounce it properly? Because I want to say Bend Over, but that's obviously not correct.
I believe it's Bendovar Gaming, but I'm
Bendovar.
also not sure. I was playing it safe and calling them BDG for most of the night.
So was I.
Some seriously good League of Legends from all comers, though, and really a great performance for their first match here from Doc's Donners. So I hope we get to see them back again.
Absolutely.
I believe next weekend we've got more gift cards to give out.
Absolutely. Hopefully we do see them return. They had a nice, strong showing, and I guess that's going to be it, folks. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. And we're going to be signing off.